Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. You know what to do by now. We're live. Get involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think about all the latest Manchester United news we're going to be getting into. We're going to be talking about Christian Eriksen. We're going to be talking about Declan Rice. We're going to be talking about Diallo. And we're also going to be talking Takeover. Yes, are we going to find out what is happening with the ownership of Manchester United? We were told it was going to be about 10 days from now, and that was 10 days ago. So we'll get into all that and make sure you are hitting that like button as well. And if you're not doing, subscribe to the channel, because what's wrong with you? Subscribe. Come on, you don't want to miss out. We'll start with Christian Eriksen. There's a story doing the rounds. You can see it here. He got an award. He won an award. The Comeback of the Year prize at the Laureus Awards, when he spoke about his recovery from cardiac arrest, opened up about his near-death experience after his bravery was recognised at the World Sports Award. It is brave, isn't it, what Christian Eriksen has done? It must be difficult to sort of step back out onto that football pitch, knowing what you've been through, and not only has he done it, but he's absolutely excelled, and I think he's playing the best football of his career. I know I'm biased, because he's playing for Manchester United. He's never done that before, but I do. I think he's a fantastic player, Christian Eriksen, and he's an inspiration to so many people. I remember watching that game in the Euros once when Denmark were playing, and he went down. I remember was sort of thinking, it looks like he's passed away. It looks like he's died, because it looked so horrific. So when you could see through the players' legs, because they sort of tried to protect him, and then I turned it over. I remember turning it over because I thought, oh, this is grim. Going back a few minutes later, and they were still filming on the pitch, and I was like, why are they still showing it? I think it was the BBC got in a bit of trouble, didn't they? Because it was like, why are you still showing this when you don't need to be? Why have you not gone back to the studio a bit sooner? But that's by the by. He's obviously made his comeback, playing brilliantly for Manchester United. He's been so important to us. I think we almost underestimate how much we missed him when he got that injury against Reading, when Andy Carroll basically deliberately injured him, which was disgraceful. But he's come back from that as well. He is the comeback kid. And he's just been such an important part of Manchester United's success this season in terms of challenging for trophies, getting in that top four, winning obviously Carabao. I know he missed out on a few games because of that injury, but he can't detract from what he's achieved. And it's great to see him speaking up about it and being an inspiration to so many people. And if you don't like Christian Eriksen, I don't like you. A few people in the chat. I'll get into that. Let's see what people are saying. Alex Reed saying, poor Glazers not getting 6 billion. Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. King Dino says, morning Jay. Carnivore says, is this deadline day number 99? Probably. James Swimbanks says, howdy Jay, howdy partner. Mank John 74, morning Jay. Japreet Jill says, morning Justin. He always use my full name. Daniel Murphy, morning Jay. Andy Oates, I don't know what that means. Santa Notch, Ozzy Gamola, morning sir, morning Jay. Good to see you guys. Days in. Harry, morning from Australia, Jay. Up the Reds. Had a great time in Australia last pre-season, over in Melbourne and Perth as well. Fantastic. The Aussie Reds in good voice and showing us how much they love Manchester United. And you've got to give him some credit as well, getting up at daft o'clock in the morning to watch Manchester United. I was chatting to one fan out there, and he was telling me how, there's nothing worse when you get up, because I think sometimes they get up at it's like in the middle of the night, and it's a midweek game, you're getting up, watching United, and if you lose, then you've got to go to work after that. And I think, oh, that sounds grim, that, doesn't it? So yeah, big up the Aussie Reds. Aaron Moore says, morning Sir Motty. David Fletcher, morning Jay. Red Army, morning to all of you lovely people. Right, should we talk about Diallo? Because as he loves to do, he scored another worldie last night. He just absolutely loves banging in, screaming goals for Sunderland, doesn't he? He's been, I'm not sure what his actual goal-scoring record is this season. I'm going to have a little Google here now. I should have done that before I came on here. Apologies for that. Let's have a look. Is it 13? Is that up to date? 13 Premier League, 13 Championship goals for Sunderland this season. He's just flying in it. So he's done really well there. He's only 20 years old. It was a weird one with Diallo, wasn't it? Because he was a bit of a strange move. We got him. He barely kicked a ball for Atalanta. I think he played about 54 minutes of professional football. Everyone's a bit like, well, United have got this player whose transfer fee could rise up to 37 million. So what do all the papers and the press do? They report, we've paid 37 million for him, which is obviously not the case. It's with add-ons. Then there was this talk and rumours and reports of him being child trafficked. of him being brought over from Africa or against the Ivory Coast, I know Ivory Coast is in Africa before anyone points that out, against his will. There was just a lot going on, wasn't there? There was a lot to unpick there. He looked like a very good player when he made a few appearances for Manchester United, I must say. Scored, didn't he, in Europe as well. Gone to Sunderland, absolutely smashing it. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Diallo next season. I have a feeling he might not be in Erik ten Hag's plans. I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm the least ITK person on Tinternet. But I just have a feeling he might end up being moved on, or because we need to bring in funds, Diallo might be one of those that makes way. And I hope I'm wrong, because I'd like to see him back in a Manchester United shirt. I think he's a very, very good, talented young player. And listen, Erik ten Hag does like youngsters, so he might give him a chance. I just don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think about Amad Diallo. Do you want to see him back for Manchester United? Have you been impressed with what he's been doing at Sunderland? And do you think, I don't know, for a 19, 20-year-old to go to Sunderland, because he went to Rangers last year, didn't he? Sunderland this year, his progression is quite good. I think he's been sort of moving forward nicely, and I think the next step for me now would be for him to come back to Manchester United. I think that would be sort of the perfect time for him to do that. I don't think he needs another loan move personally, and I certainly don't want to see him sold. I just don't know if Erik ten Hag fancies him. Let us know what you think about that. Mr. Squarehead1234 says Sunderland's top scorer. A lot of people talking about Sir Jim or the Qataris. I'll get into that a little bit later on, because I know it looks like it's going to be Sir Jim or the Qataris. Dave Eccles says, I like that name, by the way, says, yep, get him back. Charlie D says, Amad smashed it. Rangers was a waste, but he defo learnt from that experience. Charlie D says he's ready for OT. Aaron Moore says, yes, bring him back and develop him. That's a good point. Under Erik ten Hag. Carnivore disagrees slightly. He says, Diallo needs 1 year on loan at a lower level Premier League club. Maybe that is an option. Maybe we loan him to someone who's just got promoted. Sunderland, can Sunderland get promoted? In the playoffs, sorry. Yeah, that's where his goals, he's got him into the playoffs, hasn't he? Maybe if Sunderland come up, he stays there for a season. That could happen. Sebastian Guy says Diallo will progress. Terek, no, he doesn't. He said ten Hag surely must see that. Joseph Weir says take him to January, see how he goes. Nicolangelo Dulce says too early to call for Erik ten Hag. He can still adapt to ten Hag's way of playing. We'll have to wait and see, but I'd be very excited if I saw Amad Diallo back at Manchester United next season. Should we talk about David De Gea? Now, I don't want to dwell too much on De Gea, because I feel like we got our money's worth out of that topic yesterday. I mentioned him a lot in the news. We had a bit of a debate on the channel. It wasn't really a debate, to be fair. Steve and Joe and myself, we were chatting about him on the Paddock podcast. And Joe and Steve, even though Steve says that I won the debate, they more or less agreed. They both said that De Gea is probably not ideal for Erik ten Hag, and we could do replacing him. The question that Steve posed was whether we're going to have the funds to, because we don't know what's happening with the ownership, and we don't know how much of a priority it is for Erik ten Hag to replace his goalkeeper. And there's a story here you can see in the Manchester Evening News, and it says there are growing doubts at Manchester United over David De Gea's position as the club's number one beyond this season. Although manager Erik ten Hag publicly backed De Gea after his howler in the 1-0 defeat at West Ham, sources say some have reservations over extending De Gea's contract. De Gea, 32, is into his 12th season at United and has still not signed a new deal as he approaches the final month of his existing terms. While it has been assumed that a new deal for De Gea would secure his first choice status, it is understood some figures United want to move on from the Spaniard. Let me know what you think. I know we have hammered this topic, but I do want to hear what everyone thinks. Do you want to see David De Gea move on? Do you still have faith in him? Do you think that you can sort of ignore what happened at West Ham and going back a bit further at Sevilla because of what he's done at the club? Do you still feel like he is that guy? I'll be honest with you. I don't see how it works with him under Erik ten Hag if we're going to play the system that Erik ten Hag seemingly wants to play. I don't think you can just alter your system to accommodate David De Gea, especially if he's not as consistent as he used to be on his shot stopping. So I wouldn't be surprised if David De Gea moves on. The only question is what's happening with funds. Have we got the funds to replace a goalkeeper and get a number 9? We know we need a number 9. That is a given. But can we afford to replace a goalkeeper, get a number 9, and potentially get a right back as well, because we've been linked with a few right backs. So it'll be interesting to see whether Erik ten Hag does decide to move him on, or whether De Gea himself might say, you know what, if you can't guarantee me first team football, then I'm going to go. Shane Gates says De Gea needs to go, but other positions are more priority right now with the limited budget we have. Manak Das says David De Gea 60 grand per week at max. That's not going to happen, is it? I think he's on about 375k, and I think the talk is maybe goes down to about 200. Red Lad says only keep if on backup wages. Ian Goddard's 0121 says keep De Gea, but hey, a new keeper to filter as number 1. So you can sort of do something there where someone comes in but De Gea stays on. Chris Naylor says Dean Henderson is putting this out. 15 clean sheets. Our problem is lack of goals. 4th best defence in the league. Yeah, lack of goals has been a massive issue. Direct to me says people keep forgetting. I keep forgetting that our midfield is a big concern. It is a big concern. I think the problem is priority. Santa Notch in the chat says we need another club to want De Gea and be prepared for his wage demands. I don't think anyone does. That's the issue. I don't think his stock is high enough at the minute for him to be coveted by any of the clubs that would be willing to pay those kind of wages. I think he could still get a club, obviously, it's David De Gea. But the top clubs all seem to have settled goalkeepers, and any of the other clubs won't be approaching anywhere near those kind of wages. Even if he takes a pay cut, it's going to have to be a huge pay cut if he's going to go to another club. So I don't know, I think he might be in a little bit of limbo there, but Erik ten Hag needs to make a decision, because it's becoming a bit of an issue, innit? All this speculation. David De Gea's performances haven't been great, if we're being brutally honest, and we still don't know what's going on. Jay Frasconi in the Super Chat says, good morning, Jay. 2 strikers, a centre-back and a midfielder are minimum, in capitals, requirements in the summer window, not to mention a big clear-out. Erik ten Hag needs new owners for clarity and planning, if nothing else. So much work to do. Hit the like button, people. I agree with that. There is a lot of work to do. I wouldn't be surprised though if goalkeeper is up there on his list of priorities. Hit that like button. Over 1,000 people watching, only 100 likes. Come on, people, let's get to 300 likes. Hit the like button if you're watching. We can do it. The Ferocious says Ten Hag wants to keep Weghorst. Joshua Elliott says one of the last Man United title winners. Yep, him and Phil Jones, I think, are the only players at the club who won the title. Well, United last time 2013. Am I right? I think I am. Ross Benners says Bruno is absolutely fit for possession football when asked to play deeper. I thought he was outstanding in the role last month. We did something on that in playing deeper, and he did play very well there. Right, talking of midfielders, talk about Declan Rice. There's a story in the Daily Mail. It says here, West Ham are resigned to losing Declan Rice this summer if an appropriate offer for their £100 million rated captain arrived, for their £100 million rated captain. Mail Sport can reveal Rice, 24, agreed to stay this season to help lead the team in the wake of Mark Noble's retirement, but the club could not convince him to remain longer. The England midfielder's contract expires in 2024 and West Ham can trigger a 1-year extension. Sources said that they're going to have to sell this summer because Rice is ready to leave to compete for the biggest trophies. I think it also mentions there about the biggest trophies and wanting to play in the Champions League. So United aren't guaranteed that in a minute. Looking like I still think we'll get it, but it's not guaranteed. Have United got 100 million to spend on Declan Rice? Probably not. Not unless new owners come in and we splash the cash under new ownership. Maybe then that could happen. Lots of ifs and buts and maybes. Will he want to come to Manchester United? I don't know. He has been linked with us for literally about 4 years. He's been linked with Manchester United for such a long time. I remember Adam McCullough tweeting about it once, and Rio sort of calling him out because Adam McCullough said he's linked with him about 4 years ago for about 80 million or something, which was silly at the time. And Maka was like, West Ham graduates, they haven't produced anyone for a while. And then Rio Ferdinand popped up, and I don't think, to be fair, Maka meant Rio or that generation. I think he was talking about some of the newer players. Declan Rice obviously has done well. I think he started off at Chelsea, then his youngster went over to West Ham. Obviously done very well, played very well against us the other day. I don't think you buy players based on their performances against Manchester United. I'll just put that one in there. I remember Jack Rodwell years ago having a very good game against us at Goodison, and he scored as well. Thank God we didn't buy him. But he has been linked for a reason. He's a good player. He could fit into that midfield role. We know Casemiro is 31 years old. He's not going to be around forever. Declan Rice could come in there and do a job. Maybe he's an option, but we'd have to, for this to happen, I think we'd have to have new ownership with money to spend. I don't think that happens without that, because the priority's got to be a striker, potentially as well a right back, and now also we're talking about goalkeeper. Is a £100 million midfielder likely to happen? Get involved in the comments and let us know what you think. Gaz Campbell says not worth the fee. Grassroots Football says Arsenal can't afford Rice. They've been linked with him as well. Chelsea love a midfielder, don't they? Honestly. Ryan Milligan says 70 million tops. Yeah, that sounds about right to me. But you say players, especially English players, England internationals, you're just paying a premium for them, aren't you? Paul Greaves says Rice is a £60 million player. Sad Sack says Caicedo, Rice, cheaper, better suited. I like Caicedo. We have been linked with him as well. We'll probably get him for cheaper. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Sad Sack. And Carnival said, Sad Sack, I 100% agree. Right, should we talk about the takeover? Right, the Mirror have done a thing here, an article about the takeover and what's going on. It says Man United takeover live. Share price dips as Glazers delay Sheikh, Jassim and Ratcliffe decision. So the share price dipping is actually something that's just happened about, well, you can see there about an hour and 20 minutes ago. So there was a few sort of, you can see there, the price is sort of going down there. It currently stands at $19.15, having been as high as $23 in mid-April. Now, there was reports last week or a couple of weeks ago when the final bids came in that it was going to take about 10 days until we had a decision, which I think was literally about 10 days ago. Those are reports. They'll take the bids are in. The Rain Group are looking after it. We'll give you a decision in about 10 days. Now, as far as we know, we're still waiting for that. I think if we scroll down, there's a little bit more on that on the timeline. If we get to the timeline bit, if you keep going, there you go. So it was initially thought that the Glazers may take around 10 days to deliberate following the third deadline on April the 28th. Today marks, 11 days since that landmark, so you never know. Today could be the day Manchester United fans find out the Glazers are willing to surrender control. Well, hopefully, because we need to know what's going on. Gary Neville, I had this in my news yesterday, was calling him out, saying that it's classless, dragging this out. It's going to affect your transfer decisions and your ability to buy players in the summer if you keep dragging this out. We're in May now. We're well into May. It's not that far off the transfer window. And if you still don't know what your transfer budget is, how much you've got to spend on players, whether you need to sell to buy, it's a shambles. And this could be a sort of final FU from the Glazers to Manchester United and our fans by dragging their heels with this. They've got the bids. They've had them in for 10 days or 11 days. The Rain Group are looking after it. Should have been able to go to the Glazers by now and say, look, this is the one where you're going to get the most money. It's probably all they care about. This is the one that's the best one or whatever. So why is it still being delayed? It's pathetic. It really is. And it's annoying because we could go into this next season not having the striker we need, not having the midfielder or the defender or the goalkeeper that we need because of the Glazers. Again, another transfer window wasted. We wasted so many of them under the Glazers. And even when they're leaving, hopefully, they're still selling United short. It's just proper pathetic. Sad Sack says they're never going to sell, man. Lewis Green says get them leeches out. Paul Lucas says under Ratcliffe, he's calling him, plan they can decide to stay every 3 years. Tobias Nilsson says this saga has to be fixed now. Sell the club already. Abhinav Verma says, is Sheikh Jim buying the club or not? See what I did there? Nice. I mean, it's still a small concern, isn't it? Well, that concern might be bigger than small for some people, that the Glazers end up staying. I mean, that would be horrible. And I think the response would be, I've said it before and I'll say it again, biblical. If the Glazers decided to stay, then yeah, good luck with that. That's all I'm going to say on that front. As always, we will keep you posted as and when we hear anything about the sale. If we hear there's a sale, if anything breaks and there's an announcement, we'll be straight on it on the socials and we'll do a live video as well and get all your reaction and give you the opportunity to join in the chat with us. Just before I wrap up, I want to talk about the top four race because Erik ten Hag is under a bit of pressure now to get us into that top four or to keep us into the top four. I was speaking about this on the news yesterday, but Manchester United are still in control of this. United will get top four if we win 3 of our last 4 games, and 3 of those games are at home. Now, away from home, our form has been pretty poor. I know we have won quite a few home games. It wasn't that long ago. I think our away form was 5th best in the league, which was bizarre. But we've lost a lot of games to the top 9 clubs, which is just not good enough. But at home, Erik ten Hag spoke about making Old Trafford a fortress. He spoke about that early on in the season, and he has done. Other than the loss, I think it was to Sociedad and then to Brighton as well in the league. United's home form has been pretty fantastic. I think in the Premier League, is it 12 wins since then and 3 draws? And you look at the teams we've beaten as well. We've beaten Man City, we've beaten Arsenal, we've beaten Liverpool, we've beaten Barcelona as well in the Europa. Our home form is fantastic. And I'd expect that. I think that's one thing I will say about Manchester United under Erik ten Hag. We win the games I expect us to win. I expect us to beat everyone at home. Even City and Barcelona, we should be winning our home games, and he's done that. I think what we struggle is we haven't won many games. You don't expect us to win. I expect us to beat Newcastle on a neutral ground. I expect us to beat Brighton at Wembley. But going away from home to some of the better teams where you think, okay, United probably not favourites of this, we haven't picked up any points from those games. But at home, we have been good. But, well, we've been more than good, to be honest with you. So I'm still confident we can get over the line. I think we can beat Fulham. I think we can beat Chelsea. And I think we can beat Wolves at Old Trafford. And if we do that, then we get Champions League football next season. It's not going to be easy. We can't just turn up and expect these teams to roll over. We saw a little bit of that with results yesterday, didn't we? So the Brighton result, Brighton maybe taking their eye off the ball a little bit and thinking that they could just fax it in against Everton, or maybe they just won the cup final against Manchester United and didn't care anymore. But this is a bit of a warning. You have to turn up. But if Manchester United do turn up at Old Trafford, especially with 75,000 fans behind them, we'll win. We'll win those games and we'll get top 4. And I, for one, am confident we can do that, he says. Make sure you are getting involved in the chat and the comments. Make sure as well, if you've not done already, you subscribe to the channel. We're going to be back later on. We're going to have a little bit of a tactical look at Manchester United as well. So make sure you tune in for that. If you've not seen it already, go and have a look at the debate with Stephen Alson, Joe Smith and myself talking about David De Gea. I've been Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Don't forget to hit like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.